Each year, the SABC offers internship and learnership programs to empower the youth with the knowledge and skills to close the unemployment gap within South Africa, and especially the broadcasting industry.
It's not like limited to one thing in particular.
Everything that is probably available on the market, they have it here.
They don't limit you in terms of your growth.
Every new system that comes in the country, the SABC does have that.
Having come out to varsity, wanting to get experience, this was definitely the best place to come.
The internship and learnership programs include various fields of study in TV and radio production. The SABC is the biggest broadcaster in South Africa, and it celebrates South African attitudes, ideas, opinions, values, and artistic creativity. We are indeed the best public broadcaster.
And joining us now to further discuss the launch of this SABC and MICT SETA internship are Jonathan Thekiso, the GE Group Executive of Human Resources at the South African Broadcasting Corporation, and Charlton Philiso, who is the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the MICT SETA. Gentlemen, welcome.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Let's first, just by way of background, talk about, exactly what today's launch will be about. And let's start with you, Mr. Philiso.
Thank you, Sakina. Today we're launching an internship program for about 300 learners that we'll be funding as the MICT SETA. From our research, every year we conduct research where we have to come up with a priority skills list, which is made up of scarce skills. So when we received an application from the SABC, it made sense to make this investment possible, or to make it available. So we are funding to have 300 learners being hosted by the SABC.
And what exactly will they be doing here?
These are interns, meaning these are people who already have a qualification. They'll be getting the workplace experience that is very much necessary, because what happens when you go to these academic institutions, you get the knowledge aspect of it, but the practical and the workplace is something that you have to get at the workplace. So with our relationship with the SABC over the years, we found them to be a partner that is always willing to open the doors in terms of workplace experiences and making sure that the learners get the necessary workplace here. So we expect the learners here to be mentored, to have a mentor, and when they leave the program, they should have the necessary work experience that is related to what they've studied.
Mr. Thekiso, after yesterday's media briefing, I think you have probably anticipated people asking, well, so what does this mean, given that you are retrenching on the one hand, now you're bringing in 300 interns. Are you going to use that to kind of fill some of the gaps that may arise?
Thank you, Sakina. I think it's important that we put the matter in perspective. First of all, we need to understand that the skills shortage, particularly critical skills, some of which can be obtained from the SABC, but that the process began with an application process where we had 32,000 applications, and ended up with only 300, interns coming into the SABC. So no, the answer really is that the SABC is not going to use interns, to replace workers that might be retrenched. And as Mr. Philiso quite correctly says, these learners are coming into the environment to be able to be exposed, to the core business of the SABC. And we are pleased that the majority of these interns will be placed in the core business. For instance, we have close on 103 interns participating within the core business of the organization, more particularly within media technology infrastructure. At least 74 interns will be based there. So the answer really is that we're not using interns to replace workers who might be retrenched, but we are mindful of the scarcity of skills in our country, and what we're doing really is in line with the National Skills Development Strategy as well as the National Skills Act.
And perhaps just on a point of clarity, when it comes to MICT SETA, we know that NAMISA, we've always over the years seen students coming through from NAMISA. Where do they fit into this? Do they still fit into it? If you could just explain to us.
In fact, NAMISA does play a role, being a state institution, in terms of assisting in as far as the enhancement of the skills, are concerned, particularly, in film and TV, So they are playing a role. We will outsource, some of these initiatives to them because they possess the necessary competencies, that we require. And so they are an agent which assists in the skills development process, together with the SABC in partnership with MICT SETA.
Mr. Thekiso touched on the skills exchange and the skills evolution, as it were, as we advance technologically, Mr. Philiso. So apart from the part that he's mentioned, where else will the students be coming in?
Okay, so we are here to launch the SABC program, but this is not the only program that we are funding as a SETA. There are other broadcasters that we are working closely with to ensure that the gap that has been identified through our research is being addressed. So with the SABC, we expect these learners to be placed, these interns to be placed at the various radio stations, especially those that are going to be dealing with sound. We expect a lot of learners to be placed at different TV stations for film and TV production. So our goal as a SETA is not to only assist or enhance the SABC, but for the country. We have a possibility of a switch from to the digital migration. There'll be a scramble for content there. So we saw this as an opportunity to plug that gap, so that we can begin to have content producers and that's our goal.
And given, the climate at the SABC, and one understands that, morale may be somewhat low given the impending retrenchments. Mr. Thekiso, are you concerned at all that perhaps people may not be giving their all in terms of how you want them to treat and deal with the interns that are coming in?
I think that's a plausible observation. Let me start by highlighting, Sakina, the fact that this is a fully funded MICT SETA program to the tune of 22 million. So the SABC is not spending any resources, financial resources, towards the success of the program. I think I needed to clear that one out. But secondly, it's quite correct, the fact that, the morale, the motivation may be a little bit low at the moment. But we are driven by the fact that there's an overall observation, across the whole country, that there's a scarcity of skills in the area of broadcasting, media, and what have you. And our belief, we've engaged with quite a number of line managers, and there's a great deal of excitement, there's a great deal of motivation for line management to want to participate, in this project that we see, not only in terms of the SABC, but it being a national program. Granted, the motivation, the morale is low, and we are working on it together with our wellness colleagues, to assist the employee base within the SABC to be able to navigate through this very, very, very difficult, phase in the history of the SABC. So we are mindful of the level of motivation, the level of morale, and we're working on it. But the goal, the vision is much more greater because it's a national vision in terms of skills development.
And just a final one from your side, Mr. Philiso. How will you be assessing, how these internships have actually gone? Because we've heard over the years, and this is not peculiar to SABC, but across the board where people do have internship programs, where sometimes there are complaints about interns not really being given on-the-job opportunities.
Yeah. So, and picking up on what you were saying now, as a SETA, what we do for every program that we fund, we ensure that there is a monitoring mechanism that is there. It starts with the learners themselves. They have got to form a committee together with the management, and we meet. on a quarterly basis. Before every tranche payment happens, one of the field workers would come to the SABC to ensure that the program is running. The SLA that we have signed has got clear deliverables, and I must say, with the history that we have had with the SABC, we have never had to get to a stage where we have to litigate, because this is public funds. This is public funds that we are working with. So we are very sure and we are very strict in terms of monitoring the programs. So it's not as if the SABC doesn't know how to run the program because it is there in the contract. This is what the deliverables are, and our monitor will be coming in to ensure that those are being implemented.
Well, gentlemen, thanks so much for coming through and talking to us about these opportunities. Thanks to Mr. Jonathan Thekiso, SABC, and Mr. Charlton Philiso from the MICT SETA. And we're going to take a break and we'll say goodbye on the other side of that.